So opening OneNote. Last time we met, it was 15 days ago. Is it 15 days? 15 days ago? 3 weeks? 3 weeks ago. What did we talk about? We talked about 2.0. Oh yeah, then there is, I need to link the discussion then, because I think Jasmin, Pied and Zoltan commented on that thing, on the issue, holidays, and I should have mentioned also New Year's. Really ship 1.2 with net correctory 1, net 5, net 6.0. When no more open issues for 1.2, and I checked last time I checked after the last triage, everything was fixed, so we'll talk about it today. So let's see, today is January 4th, 2020. Those topics, 1.2, release, demos.
Yes, I've got a demo today.
Better have 3 demos.
It should take a little while, so maybe 1 is okay.
Maybe I have something, actually. I did something this morning. Oh, I did many, and I did, well, yeah, okay. What did I do during the holidays? Nothing interesting. I did something before. Okay, who else? So when you see the screen like this in Teams, do you see SR for Soteris?
Yes, we do.
What do you see for me?
SR2.
So the same thing? How do you know which one it is? It's confusing. Okay. Okay, demo status. Any topics I need to add there? Something you want to talk about? Let's. I want to add a link to the GitHub issue. I want to mention that. So status. Work. Orchard 1. Since last time, nothing. We talked about it last time, I remember. Orchard core. There are a bunch of PRs on Orchard. We'll see that on Thursday. Updating jQuery and Hibernate. It's interesting stuff. Hard stuff. Now, since last time on Orchard core, MKDux updates. That's, and I'm sure. MKDux updates, .NET December update. What is .NET December update? It's just, oh, 6.01, okay. .NET December update. That's an unusual title for updating the framework. Use current port for tenant URLs in a tenant admin page. I remember that PR from Jean-Thierry. Migration for localized content item index latest colon. Just fixing some migration issues. Because UI fixed it, to not add empty duplicate entries from Martin Cape, new contributor. And KDocs update. Monaco, Cyprus, Communal updates. I realized this morning, well, yesterday, that it's supposed to be a 6.0 version of Code Mirror, a re-implemented version of Code Mirror, but I don't know if they are making some progress on that. I know they did that to be able to react to Monaco, because Monaco does things much better. And that's why we are using Monaco for some things, but they decided to rewrite completely Code Mirror with a 6.0 version. I found the page for that, but I don't know what's the status of this branch. NJsonSchema 10.6.6. Is it the one that's using Fluid?
Yes, the previous one, 10.6, was.
Okay, and it removed. Oh, I think it was Dean who mentioned that there were dependencies that we don't need anymore, like .liquid, because of that.
Dean, can you tell us why we are?
It's not Dean, but
It's just because in Jason's schema is now using a couple of releases ago. This is just some minor patches, I think, to some of the XML document comments or something, because I saw the PR when it came in. But yeah, that does mean we don't, because NJson is now using Fluid as its templating engine rather than .liquid. It means we don't have a floating dependency on .liquid.
So dependencies in the latest version here is Newton.JSON, okay, which we also reference. And if I take a version that is before 6.0, I don't see .liquid here. Maybe it's Swag actually that has that. Okay, so then just schema update. Okay, fixing ResetPasswordSettings deployment step. Okay, so who doesn't have their microphone muted? Whoever muted recently, maybe it was Antoine or Dean, you have your microphone very close to your heart. We could hear the heartbeat. Like boom, 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 boom. Just saying. And Dean also, Dean, fix your microphone. You're very quiet. When you do the demo, you need to talk louder or to fix your microphone. So this one is just a name change. The class was named incorrectly. Oh, okay, it was referencing this class instead of this one, so it was broken. I see. Update MK docs. No. Yes. Plugin support data annotation PO localization. Yes, I think I approved this one. Which is to be able to localize data annotations. Data NPM packages. CSS, refactoring. Is it like applying the editor settings everywhere?
Reformat each file.
So did you use a command line tool? Did you use Visual Studio Support?
The analyze menu and reformat the file in the solution.
It was good. It's not just reformatting. I saw it had changed some things to like array.empty and stuff. Like maybe in one of the content field changes. Do that.
I don't see content field here.
Maybe
it's there.
I'd have to look at PR, but then in the drivers.
Yep.
All right, yeah, so that's a cool change.
Yeah, because I did this on 2 or 3 files because ResetPasswordSettings suggested it. So, at first, I wanted to apply the changes suggested by Rider or by ResetPasswordSettings. Most of the changes are about reformatting the files.
That's the one we mentioned. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, Pranav from the ASP.NET team did that for the full ASP.NET repo. It was huge. I could not even open the Chrome tab. I had to use a custom mode to be able to see the changes of the PR. So many changes. Okay, look good. MKDocs fixes index cursors management. Oh. Okay, here is just reformatting, or it's hiding something. Order by here, okay. I see it needs to order the index. Okay. And this one was merged also today from Sergio. That's an option, so that's good. Okay, that's interesting. That it is an option. Awesome. Oh, this one also from Jean-Thierry. Okay, option pattern. Yeah, yes. Why load the configuration into that where? Yeah, I mean, that's weird. Why two PRs? Did someone comment on the PR saying you forgot it's an option?
We talked about it on me and John 3, and he couldn't edit Sergio's PR, so he's asked to submit it and
good.
And edit.
Good.
Unblock it.
Thanks everyone for the commits. And looking at the repo, I believe 1.2 should be ready. Yep, so this one is independent from the release. I could do that before. I will try to do that before ship, so we can use the. Yeah, it should not impact anything. It's just a matter of ownership of the prefix. We already have the prefix in place. So 1.2, and there was a PR also for 1.2. So this is done. See, I had tagged some PRs also. Okay, so 1.2 is ready. We'll do that between today and Thursday morning, probably on triage, because that should be easy. Maybe before Thursday, we should try to update the translations, because that's what was blocking us last time. So update the translations and put it on myget like we do, and then verify it's building, it's working, and then we can ship the translations on NuGet and then ship 1.2. So, so if Antoine, you can just flush or generate the files and just flush it on the translations repo.
Yeah, I did it a few days ago. It should be up to date.
You mean flush not ship, not merge the PRs?
Yes, just generating the PO files.
Which means there is a PR, there is updates.
2 days ago.
Lots of updates since last release. Okay. Okay. That confirms question merge. So it's merged. So we will have a new version of the package on myget. We can try it on the main branch, and then if it works, we can ship those packages and ship them. Okay, good. That is done. What else? For 1.2, a reminder that 1.2 will still ship with the same TFNs, 315060. Okay. And as we ship 1.2, the main branch will only target net 60. Okay. So you have to migrate to net 6 before taking the next update. But it should not change anything unless you have dependencies that I don't see anything. Yeah, that only target 3.1, but that should not be there shouldn't be no reason to only target 3.1. So it should at least target install to 0, so it would work with net 6.0. So yeah, that's what you need to do. Migrate your code to the net 6 for the next version. But for us, it will be net 6 on the main branch. We keep the multi-targeting logic because at some point we will have other targets like net 6 and net 7, and we can drop some dependencies that were required for 3.1 and net 5, or add new ones that are only available in 6. What's only available in 6? So these ones, date, time, we don't want time zones because they don't work cross-platform. There was something else I saw that I could not use because it was not net 6. What was it? A new syntax, maybe?
Marco was doing some optimizations and ran into something that was only 6 as well.
Maybe that's the same thing. Oh, yesterday I was like, I need to add that. I'm like, no, it's just net 6, I can't. What was it? Can't remember. That's weird. Okay, I find out. Oh, it was yesterday, I already found it. Oh my god. Okay, so shipping now. We said we didn't want to ship during the break in case there was an issue. Okay. Demos.
Excuse me,
Yep.
but when I try to make a PR to say why don't we use the .NET 6 syntax, I tried it. I pasted the link of the PR in the chat, and I cannot make it work using maybe I need to check. The last comment is a repo I made with the preview versions, and it's not working when I use nlog web. Yes.
That will just require some changes to the nlog extensions when we move to 6, because it's related to how the web host builder works, and we have some custom extensions for nlog.
So that we don't want.
Okay.
Oh, that is required for the templates. Okay, it's just for the templates. Good. Okay,
Yes.
it's not for us.
And I made a repo. My last comment is a repo I made to show that it does not work.
So that also doesn't work. But you said that this repo shows it doesn't work. This is using the templates.
Yes. No, it's when you start from a new NT application, and you add the required lines.
Yeah, so that's what Dean said, is that there is no extension method called use and log web for this web host?
The extension exists, but it's probably going to need to be updated.
Or either using?
I think we should just fix the extension, because the extension was written back in like core 2 or core 1 to work around some issues.
This is our extension?
Yeah, it's our extension.
Okay.
I think it's our extension. I'm guessing. Because it does some things with the content root provider and bits and pieces.
Okay, yeah, I remember that. So yeah, that's why maybe also it's not working here, and these errors are hiding that. Because if we update the orchardcore.cms.web project, this one, you see, if you uncomment that, we see error. So we need to fix that first, and then everything else will work. Okay. Okay.
The build would be passing without the comment.
It looks like it's passing, but then the tests themselves don't work because you didn't try to build them. When you build this, you didn't build the solution, you built the project and all the module references, but not the test. So if you try to build a test, you will find other issues, and then the full PR will work. You are just missing some using, I believe, somewhere in the test. So try to build the test locally, fix it, it will be easy, and then push, and everything should be green because you don't do that, and the next step is to fix that use and log web. That is commented, this one. Yep. Okay, good. So the PR is ready for updating to Net 6. The main branch. I knew it. I knew it, Jasper.
Well, we need to remove the other TFMs.
Yes, okay, yeah, fine. That's easy. Okay, good.
We can close this one and make a new one after 1.2.
And what?
We can close this one and make a new one after 1.2 is released.
Why a new one?
To include all the required changes.
Or it can be just that first and then new other ones, up to you. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay, and I said demo time. Team with some better sound.
Let me share my screen. How is the sound?
Better, thank you.
Is it better?
Yeah.
Excellent.
You still have an accent, but I won't complain.
Well, I'm not the only one with an accent,
yeah,
to be fair.
We all have accents.
We all have an accent around here.
Maybe Dave, yeah, I don't know. We all have accents, actually.
Yeah, I do have one as well.
Everybody, even the people who say they don't have accents, I mean, it's all relative, okay? An accent.
Absolutely, yeah. Go 5 miles down the road around here, and everyone's got a different accent. It's great, love it. Anyway, demos. So the issue first. It took me ages to find this because it's well buried. But for some time we've had a kind of outstanding feature where we wanted to add a background jobs queue. Originally came up with the publish later module, which oh look, and it's got a whole lot of comments on how we could have done it. But the idea is that we have a background task infrastructure which runs tasks on a minute-by-minute schedule on a cron job, but doesn't actually allow us to have a queue where we can put jobs into a queue. So I had a little bit of time over the last couple of weeks and kind of needed the feature, so had a little crack at putting it together. And I found another issue as well, same thing, jobs queue. So the idea is it's got some similarities. People might know Marco's project, the courts.net, which is very much a jobs queue and much more around scheduling, and also may have used products like Hangfire, which I've used a lot in the past and had good success with some kind of long-running background jobs, I suppose, or the ability to schedule them and rerun them. I've implemented one for the publish later, which obviously the feature is still the same. So if we go down here, we pick that we want to publish it now, which is not exactly later, but for the purposes of a demo, it's a little bit quicker than waiting. So we'll push that. There's a little note that it's scheduled to be published at 8:30. And I built a bit of UI for this. I'm not really sure if it will want UI, but it was useful to keep track of things. So you can see here, there's a publish later job, which was edited just recently. Its current state is created. And if I run the scheduler, which is just a quick shortcut for testing, to be honest, we should see that this runs and has been executed. And then we can go back in here and have a look at the content item, which has now been published. The difference being, of course, that it hasn't sat there every minute checking the database to see if there's an item that should be published. It's just executed it on the schedule. So I can put another one in for a few minutes' time. Down here and have a look at the UI. And see that there's one here created. Because it's been published a number of times, it reuses the same job, but it'll run in 2 minutes. So even if I run the scheduler now, go back and have a look at this, it's ready to run in a minute, so it still hasn't run. And I've also got another one here, which has just been my testing one, which just logs some stuff to the log on the kind of schedules that I've been setting for it. And the UI is still kind of in preparation, and to be honest, I'm not even sure if we want it, but it's became a little bit crucial to kind of keep track of things. So this publish later job is scheduled to run once in a minute. This log job 2, obviously the second one that I made, is scheduled to run on a cron tab, so runs in this case every minute because it's a thing. So you see here that you've got a whole bunch of instances which go through different states, and there's an example of the states here. Like I said, I'm not even sure if I'll keep this UI. It was just useful to see it and to see what I was kind of coming up with for ideas on it. There are a bunch of other states that a job might run through, and the possibility that might add a button here to retry a failed job. At the moment, the jobs will retry by default 10 times if they fail, if they have an exception, and they'll wait a minute before retrying. So one of the things that I was kind of looking for out of this feature was the ability to, we orchestrate a lot of stuff with workflows through into Azure functions or external API calls, some of which may fail, some of which may succeed. So looking to be able to kind of orchestrate that a little bit better and start a workflow as an orchestration, move something that's going to be a little bit more long running that might take 3 or 4 minutes to a background job, have the background job run, check states, and then restart the workflow when it's actually completed. I don't know. One of the things that I kind of need to use it for is building Azure resources. So when you submit by the Azure API to create a resource, be it a blob storage account or a server that we're provisioning, you get a token back with an ID on it, and you have to poll to see when the resource is being created. So I'll be using background jobs to do that polling, to poll once every minute or something, check if it's created, and then re-invoke the workflow that was originally driving it. Yeah, so that's the demo, or that's the little bit of UI that you can see for it. It's got some, I guess, similarities between workflows, but it is kind of much more orientated at being code-based and driven from code.
Thank you. Questions from anyone? Okay, I have questions.
I knew you'd have questions. You'll want to have a look at some code and see what it does.
No, I have questions first. How do you pronounce scheduler? Some people say scheduler. So there are so many pronunciations. Everyone is different.
I call it a schedule, but everyone, as you say. And I'm not even sure if schedule is a word, so it does get used commonly.
So Jean-Thierry made it at some point, or is it something that we already have, like a jobs queue view?
So what we have at the moment is the, do you mean the UI?
Yeah.
So if we turn on the UI for the background tasks,
Okay,
which isn't on at the moment.
that's it.
Yep. Then we get another one here, which is the tasks,
Okay.
where we can edit the schedules of the tasks. So you'll see here that there is actually a background jobs task, which is the one that does the scheduling. If that makes sense. And there's the workflows one, because I've got that turned on at the moment as well.
Okay, so yeah, fine. Then I just wanted to know if there was something that Jean-Thierry didn't push, and it was that. Then second question is terminology. I didn't understand at first, then I understood. Then I was like, if you had named things another way, I would have understood. Example, you code background jobs, okay, and you also have instances, and I'm like, instance, I'm like, it's all meta. What's the level of instance? So, and then I think that instance is everything that has already run and is done, right?
Well, not necessarily, because these ones here, the most recent instance, and ignore the bad UI here, please, has just been created. So it hasn't actually been run yet, so it's created.
Yeah, so I would, on my notes, I noted execution instead of instances, because it can be past or future, but instance is weird. It's not user-friendly. It may be developer-friendly to represent what it means technically, but 49 instances, that's weird. I would call it executions. Even if they are past or future executions, these are like executing a job. But instances, or maybe there is a better word, but I didn't like instances.
But executions totally works for me. If you look in the code, you'll see that everything is based around execution dates.
Okay.
The schedules are all based around execution dates, so it is about executing.
And the title of the page, background jobs, I would call it scheduled jobs, because I believe that it's the background. It's clearer to me to say it's a scheduled thing. But yeah, background is technical, I think. And also what I would like to see is the next scheduled job, like the date of the next scheduled job, because I see created, I see executed, but in the lines here, because every scheduled job definition could display you see here, you see 7 hours ago, which is when it was created, but the next execution, when is it? Like in 3 minutes, in 1 hour,
Sure.
in 1 day?
You want to see this one
Yeah, the next one.
as an
That will
execution
be
date. Yeah.
the next one that will be executed, yes, when it
Yeah.
is.
Makes sense.
Then I'd like to be able to pause and resume every job.
So essentially disable it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, makes sense. I was imagining having some buttons over here for that. I wasn't sure if I'd allow the UI to change the schedule, like change the cron tab. Like it wouldn't hurt.
Well, you can keep the cron tab, but have disable, enable, run now, run next, or so, like instantiate, which is wrong, but run now, which will create an instance and says, okay, executing. But yeah, so being able to like the scheduler in the task scheduler in Windows, all these things that you can do, stop, pause, run now, when is the next one, see all the previous ones, and so on. So
yeah,
just
makes sense.
minimal changes, but
the instances themselves,
executions.
Because this is the executions. Yes, the executions. Was going to put a setting on them for whether you want to save your executions, how many to save, because they're all stored in the same JSON document or the same record. So not like workflows where we've got workflow types and workflow instances as kind of different records in the database. I wanted to try and keep it a little bit simpler than that.
You need a different table. Even if they are JSON documents, they should be independent and a different table.
You reckon? Like I mean, it's a very small thing. It's a small amount of
log. It will grow.
It is a log.
And grow and grow. So.
Well, that was why I was going to put a restriction on it. By default, only save 100 of them, for example.
Yeah, but maybe someone wants to keep 1 million, and then you have the same issue. So just split it, and in parallel, optionally, yeah, you can provide some pruning behavior, but you need to split by default.
Okay, we can split it. I did it quickly to see, but
because tomorrow one execution will have so much log, just one. Even if it's run like every day, it will log so many things, and it will be all in the same JSON document. That will be unmanageable. It will fail.
Yeah, well, this one's running. Only been running for half an hour since I turned this machine back on again. Okay, well, we can split those out. It wouldn't, it's not harm.
Oh, it's easy. Just you can keep a JSON document, but one per instance.
The other thing I did, I changed my mind on this halfway through, is you see this publish later job has actually been run 3 times because it's the same content item that's saving it. So a new content item will create its own publish later job.
Ah, that's weird.
Well, it's a job. You know, you stick a job in and you say this job is doing that thing.
What I think is weird is it's in between, it's in the middle. And for me, it's wrong because it should be either one job per scheduled publishing or one publish later job for everything. And here you have a mix of that. It's like, oh, one per content item. What? Why?
Well, mostly because it's got the content item ID in it.
Yeah, but I mean, you could have a instance that has a parameter that is the content ID.
But then it would want to execute at different times. Like this one wants to execute, 3 minutes ago.
Then you can have one job per schedule and done. So if I reschedule under one, I have another publish later job. So here
that could be a thing as well. Yeah, I changed my mind halfway through.
Yeah, here it's in between, and I think it's whatever. For me, there are 2 options, and you took the third one, which can't be right. You took the only option that is wrong to me. You could have said, no, I prefer to have one item with n instances or n items with one instance, and you chose x times y. So that's, yeah. Maybe that's why you went back and forth, because you realize something is wrong here.
Well, I went back and forth because, you know, 1 minute it looks like it's one job, and then you save it 3 times and it's actually 3 jobs. So should it be together? Should it be apart? It's literally of no issue to change it if people think that's weird. Like this one, probably on its display should display the content item title or something along those lines as well. So that you actually,
and that's why
intuitively,
I would have 1 job per schedule. And if I schedule twice the publication of the same content item, I have 2 entries here with just 1 instance, next one, and no repeat. It's just
the next one just gets cancelled.
You can cancel it, and then when
if I schedule one, so if I schedule one for an hour's time, and then schedule it again.
Yep, you have 2 items.
2 hours time. With 2 items, one's cancelled.
And you can cancel one, and then it disappears from the list of scheduled.
Well, it would still probably show on this list, because the list is what's is all of them. But we'll have I haven't done it now because I copied it over from the users module. I have a filter on status, because sometimes you want to see that the job ran, or you want to see that it was cancelled. You want to know. That's the big pain with background jobs, is like, did it actually work?
Well, you can still show them, actually. Maybe you need a state to say they are run, there won't be any more instance, but they are done, they are run, there is 1 instance for that.
Yeah. That will make sense.
Awesome, thank you.
What else did I have that was weird that I kind of wanted to ask questions on? So the scheduler, the background task thing that we have, runs the scheduler to check it every now and then, every minute. But then the queue itself is also run as a background task for a hosted service. So you end up with this, which just maintains a queue using a channel. So what are the other options? Not audit trail options. So I gave options for retry attempt, for if it fails, which defaults to 10, an interval, and the number of concurrent jobs, so like jobs of the same type that can run at the same time, which is by default unlimited, but you can add options there too.
By default, it should be limited.
Well, I mean, it's going to be limited by the queue size, and the queue takes however many threads, however many processes you've got by default. But
you should put 1 there.
because that's what they want to execute in parallel.
Yeah, but then then let me change the option to say, okay, 2 in parallel or 3 in parallel, but there should be 1 by default, because let's write the file, for instance. Oh, the file system is accessed and it's blocking everything, and you can retry, but it will never work. So it's just, if you know that you can run in parallel, you should allow to run in parallel.
Okay, you reckon?
And most of the tasks you showed us so far, they run 1 at a time, right?
Well, the publish later, as an example, would run. That could run in parallel, because it would be 2 different items.
But even if they run 1 at a time, it's not an issue.
No. I mean, they'll get picked up by the next scheduler. Part of it was because of the scheduler only runs every minute, because that's the most granularity we currently have at the moment. So if I queue 5 of these jobs together to all run at the same time, they'll actually take 5 minutes to run, because one will get scheduled, it will run, then a minute later the scheduler will kick in and run another one. Run the one that was blocked because it wasn't allowed to run.
Yeah, or you just bump all the queued one for this minute and run them serially or in parallel based on the parallelization value or concurrency value. And you don't say no, postpone to the next thing. You just skip the next one because you're still pumping something. And then when you are done pumped, if you have been over the 1 minute, you say, okay, now I'm late for the previous one, let's pump again. And so you catch up with all the work to do.
Yeah, I mean, it prioritizes based on how far it's out of the queue. But
it's just a while loop until there is nothing more to pump. That is done.
Yeah, but you don't want to pump too much stuff into the queue, because then you get too much back pressure. And you start running into difficulties where it's been pumped into the queue, but you can't track whether or not it gets executed.
What do you do then? You forget them forever? You say, oh, I missed the slot, so I...
No, it just gets picked up on the next run of the...
Yeah, I'm saying don't wait for the next one. If you know that someone should have been run. So 1 minute is passed, and 2 of them could not be run because the first 3 took 1 minute. Instead of waiting the next minute, you're like, no, okay, I've passed the minute, so I can trigger now for the one before, because they have priority now because they are late already. So it's just a while loop until you've caught up with everything. You don't need to trigger a new event because, oh, I know already I'm late, so let's continue the work.
Okay, yeah, so you could track the concurrent ones as being delayed.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got a loop on...
And from the UI, you can see that, like, and you can say, no, pause this one, like, and then, or cancel this event, and then it won't be picked up.
Yeah, I don't know how well the infrastructure will support sitting in a loop like that for that long.
Can be lazy.
Like it's all...
You can just...
Yeah, but so the infrastructure itself that we kind of have at the moment is, a background service, so it's a hosted service. So it already runs in a while loop, but it's awaiting every task. So when it actually runs, if any of these tasks, any of these background tasks that we have are long running, like if they take 5 minutes, none of the schedules get fired. So they just all start to back up and be late. Yeah.
Maybe there is another state which is acquired or ready to start or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got executing at the moment.
Because executing means it's running, but you could have something that says, oh, I've been picked up to be run as soon as possible.
Well, I've got a priority there, so that could probably...
Like ready.
Do it. Yeah, basically ready. Well, they prioritize based on the date that the time that they're supposed to be executed, less the current time. So the higher execution happens. I'll ever think about it. Need to have a chat with JT about some of the task stuff there, the background task stuff that I've done as well.
All good.
Cool.
I see the documentation page where it said 6.0 only. I don't remember what it was. I need to check my history of file history. Crap. Oh. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm not showing anything. I just want to check my browser history from yesterday. And it was an MSDN. I know. Boom! I found it in my history. Okay. There is something new in Net 6. It comes back. So I will show you. Yes. I find it nice. Random.Shared. Yeah, you see it's there. Typed it yesterday. So this is a new property in Net 6.0. It's a static property on the random class, which returns a random. So instead of doing new random and then this instance does something and you can have a static, no, there is already an instance for you, random.shared. So if you don't need to seed the randomization again every time, it provides a thread safe random instance. Okay, so that's super useful and it's only available in Tenant 6. So every time you see new random, you probably just want to do random.shared actually. So yeah, that's what I was looking for. That's only available in Tenant 6. There are other things, but the one I thought so far. Okay. What do I have here? 2.0 status, 2.0 issue. No, 2.0 status, 2.0 issue. Where is the issue we commented on? And there was also Zoltan talking about the renaming of the project and everything, and the splitting of the projects.
I think it's probably that milestone issue.
Okay, I believe also. So milestone, this one, and then so organization, okay. I don't want to misunderstand the comments. Oh, because I commented, is it okay to create an organization that does use CMS? That does use. But I mean, does or doesn't? Probably mean what it it's okay to create an organization that does use CMS in it. Because what? There is an organization called Orchard CMS. Okay. Oh, because I want Orchard to be the CMS. I think we should find a name for the framework that is different than Orchard framework. What's wrong with Orchard framework? And I think at that point, no, this was Isham. Okay. But I think I understood it a bit wrong. Is there anything so not technical, just like, is it okay?
I like how they named Carter and Nancy.
Yeah, but
Completely random.
But there are not enough brother and sister. No, I mean, this discussion is interesting because I don't think Zoltan understood the reasons why we decided to split, and also that we decided to split. Orchard is the name everyone knows and which has been used for decades. Yes, we want to keep Orchard, but for the CMS itself. And I'm not discussing we will create an organization, we will. Just an organization that doesn't have a CMS instead. I commented on that too. Okay, we are defining to prevent you from being okay. Yes, and yeah, there was discussion about that. No, we are not talking about that. We are creating a node. So it's, yeah, so it's not under my account. We'll keep Orchard for the CMS name, also for the organization. We'll also talk about using a different framework under the same organization. So Orchard. Jokes. Okay. Well, I need to reread again. I lost context. But yeah, there is this discussion about naming, and then the issues that these are already taken, so we can't use that.
There is nothing that says that the organization name in NuGet must match your organization name in GitHub.
Totally.
So we are slightly talking about two different platforms. It would be good if they did, though.
Yeah, honestly, the organization name in NuGet, nobody cares. It could be called Nancy Carter, nobody cares, because nobody looks at that, right? What's the organization behind whatever NuGet packages that you know and use every day? Like if I take ASP.NET Core, so what's the organization here? It's whatever. This is the owners like Microsoft. Okay, fine. Nobody never looked at that, right? So it happens that today, if we take Orchard Core, it's my account, and that's what we need to fix. So it can be called whatever we want. And like Niraj said, it could be called Orchard said, fine, as long as it's not that account, but an org. That's what we care here. Then there is the discussion on GitHub and splitting the projects into that. On GitHub, the project name Orchard, or even the package name here named Orchard, needs to be the CMS. And whatever is framework should not be called Orchard. The goal being that we can drive the two projects independently and people can use everything but the CMS without thinking it's a CMS, which is the main issue. Every time you look on Twitter, oh yes, Orchard, blah, blah, or I want to do modular or multi-tenant or whatever, or use Orchard. No, it's a CMS. I don't want a CMS. Ah, you see? So Orchard is a CMS.
Probably the other point we could make about that Orchard Core as well is that for two, we probably don't need to necessarily be Orchard Core anymore either.
Maybe.
And the .NET have gone away from that.
We can also.
You know, we could actually, yeah, we could.
EF Core is still EF Core because EF is not EF Core. ASP.NET is still ASP.NET Core because ASP.NET Core is still ASP.NET because but .NET is no more .NET Core. But ASP.NET and Entity Framework are still core inside. So it's hard. I don't care. We just need two names, and Orchard is a CMS. So you could say Orchard, fine. Okay, so that and then the tweet from yesterday from Sean. Twitter. Sean, what's his last name?
Walker.
Walker. Blah, blah, blah. We tweeted some stats about Net Foundation projects, usage and everything. So this is one. This is another one. Orchard at the top. So it means something. It also doesn't mean what you think it means.
Mm-hmm.
Pull request 1500 in 2021, which is great. Commits 1291. I'm like, what? Why do we have more pull requests than commits? Do we really close that many pull requests? No way.
Yes, we
so we did close 300 PRs.
Because there are many PRs created by Dependabot. Like,
so you close them all. So you see that it doesn't mean anything?
Yeah.
Because there might be like 1,500 Dependabot PRs. It doesn't mean nothing. That's what I'm saying, because like, no, that's wrong. Also look at that. 6,000 commits and only 1,000 PR. What does it mean? That people keep pushing on main, or when they merge a PR, they have like 20 commits and then don't squash and merge? Doesn't mean anything. Because we squash and merge. What if we didn't squash and merge? it will be like 50,000. So nobody knows. Maybe they are doing the same thing in Umbraco or in Avalonia. They're also squashing machine, but nobody knows. So
I know that image sharp is not squashing and merging. They always merge everything. Because I've got so many commits on image sharp.web because I did 3 full commits in one PR. It's ridiculous.
So you can't really. Yes, it has some value because you don't go to 6,000 without 6,000 something. You don't go to 2,000 without 2,000 something. So that has some value, but it doesn't mean what you think it means. Like maybe you see that's so bad. New contributors is fine. That's the attrition of. That's very nice to see that. Total contributors would be nice.
We could still do more for new contributors though, to make it easier to give.
Yeah. Splitting the projects, for instance, because it makes things maybe easier, like having simpler solution. It's hard to get into the source code for sure. It has always been. Yeah. What else? So that was the first thing. Like all the ELSA things should be part of Orchard. 2,000 commits on ELSA, more than Orchard. It's kind of crazy. So that, the other one was this one. Then when you look at the, and that also makes me smile because you see ASP.NET Core here, pull request, or commits ASP.NET Core. Same thing, like all the commits or the pull requests, there is a bot that creates tons and tons of merging PRs and commits to merge branches between each other, repos between each other. So it doesn't mean anything at all. And then which branch? Because on ASP.NET Core, there is the 3.1, 5.0, 6.0, 7.0 branches that are actively worked on and duplicated work across. So is it just the main branch or is it just the release, so all the branches? That's something also too. That's something, but that's not everything. That's what it's hard to get to take anything from these things. But at least we are there. Okay, we are not way below. So that's interesting. Some Blazor stuff, Avalonia, the UI, aka.NET, the actor framework, reactive UI. .NET Nuke still into DB, URM. ELSA, Martin is the JSON serialization stuff for PostgreSQL in .NET. Image sharp is there in commits, but it's not there in pull request. Definitely not like 5 pull requests every year, but 2,000 commits. New contributors, Silk. I don't remember what it is. I've seen that. Cake, the build system of OmniSharp for the VS Code integration. Benchmark.NET, that's a lot. And design Blazor. Yeah. Good. That's good. Just mentioning that stat. Sean, for those who don't know, created the .NET Nuke project 20 years ago. And now leads the Octane project, which is Blazor, modular framework for Blazor. And we are here. Done? Questions, comments? Dev branch. There is no such thing as dev branch. Yes, but yeah, it's hard also. Yeah, because maybe that's the reason. Because maybe main branch was created this year and we don't. I don't know. But yes, it has been merged, so they should contain them. No questions, no comments. Rod? Antoine and Soteris. Waiting. Waiting. 10K content items. Why is the features module always enabled? Because if it was not enabled, there would be no way to enable it or enable anything else. If it was disabled, how would you enable it or anything else? So I think that's why. that's a topic for an issue or a discussion to understand why and what would happen if it was not enabled, or do you want it to not be enabled, and then is a question to not enable it, and that's also doable. Just don't enable it in the custom recipe, and it won't be enabled. I believe that's the question. Okay, so file an issue. See you next week or on Thursday for the triage. Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.